But first, the question of how did we get here? Many point to the U.S. economic embargo against Cuba that's been in place for more than 60 years. It dates back to President Dwight Eisenhower. It started in March of 1958, first as an arms embargo. The goal, to hinder the efforts of Fidel Castro and his rebels to overthrow the government of then Fulgencio Batista.
President Eisenhower orders a drastic reduction in the Cuban sugar import quota. The setback to Cuba's economy is finally triggered by Premier Fidel Castro's seizure of 2 American and 1 British oil refineries.
By 1960, President Dwight Eisenhower shifted the embargo from temporary to the official posture of the U.S. on Cuba. The move came within months of Fidel Castro nationalizing American oil refineries on the island, followed by confiscations of U.S.-owned businesses, properties, and assets. Eisenhower would be the first of 11 U.S. presidents to contend with Castro under the controversial embargo. 7 of them Republican presidents, 4 Democrats. It was President Barack Obama who first moved towards normalizing relations with Cuba in 2016, after Castro's death at the age of 90.
Many suggested that I come here and ask the people of Cuba to tear something down. But I'm appealing to the young people of Cuba who will lift something up, build something new. El futuro de Cuba tiene que estar en las manos del pueblo cubano.
In the 10 years after Fidel, Cuba has had 2 presidents, his brother Raul Castro and the current president Miguel Díaz-Canel. The U.S. embargo on Cuba does remain, and it's enforced through various laws. The Trading with the Enemy Act of 1917. Its Title 31 of the Code of Federal Regulations applies to money, finance, and the U.S. Treasury. First leveraged against Cuba by President John F. Kennedy, Title 31 was used to target energy and agricultural sectors in Cuba. The Cuban Democracy Act of 1992 further restricted trade and credit relations, imposing sanctions on countries providing assistance to Cuba. Passed under President George Bush Sr., it came at a pivotal moment after the fall of Cuba's largest benefactor, the Soviet Union. The Helms-Burton Act of 1996. It was passed under President Bill Clinton, further discouraging non-U.S. companies from investing in Cuba. Beyond the embargo, other factors have contributed to the devolution of the Cuban economy. The collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991 and the U.S. capture of Venezuela's Nicolás Maduro in January have left Cuba without a main source of currency, food, and fuel. From 1982 to 2015, Cuba's name was kept on the U.S. list of state sponsors of terror, effectively blocking its access to credit and loans in the international financial markets, including the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. Another setback was the September 1992 congressional report on the Juragua nuclear power plant in Cuba. U.S. geological surveys raised safety concerns about the construction and operation of the nuclear reactors. Officials identifying the site near Cienfuegos was susceptible to earthquake activity. The nuclear power plant remains unfinished. Which brings us to the executive order of President Donald Trump on January the 30th. He imposed a fuel blockade on Cuba, the president citing the international emergency economic powers. Any nation providing oil to Cuba will face additional tariffs on their products in the U.S.